and welcome to my channel. My name is Emily. This is my channel, Books for Life, and today I'm here to tell you all about the books that I read during the month of February. So during the month of February, I read or listened to 7 different books. I am going to be referring back to my always fully booked bookish planner because I wrote some of my thoughts here. And I also started a Goodreads account this year, so if you are interested, you can follow me on Goodreads. It's my Books for Life channel, so you can find me on there. And I do post some reviews there too, and I try to update my reading there as much as I can. So the first book that I listened to during the month of February was Educated by Tara Westover, and this was the only book that I gave the entire month a 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved this book. I was mesmerized by her story. I wanted to know more. I actually watched a bunch of her interviews on the internet when I was done so that I could find out more about her, and I read some different articles that were posted, and I was just completely intrigued by her story. So Tara Westover had a bit of a different childhood than most people do. She was raised her mother and father in the mountains, and she did not go to school until the first time when she went to college, and she did not receive a formal education. She had to teach herself, or her brother taught her, or her mother helped to teach her, and basically she had to help out with her dad's junkyard, and it was really just a story about figuring out who you are and what matters to you, and then facing that question, like, what are you willing to give up for those things that are truly important? And Tara Westover had to give up a lot of stuff. And she also had a very abusive brother. Her parents did not listen to the things that she told them. They didn't believe that her brother was abusing her. So it was a very toxic environment for her, yet she managed to still get out. And it is her story, it is her journey, and it was inspiring, and it was absolutely amazing. The audiobook for it was phenomenal. The narrator was excellent. I don't remember who it was now, but if you enjoy audiobooks, I highly recommend you checking out Educated by Tara Westover. It was the best book of February by far. So I decided to participate in the Valentine readathon. Kind of. I did a buddy read with Infinite Bookish, and I'll leave her channel link below. And together we chose to read Vicious by Ve Schwab. So this was the first physical book that I read during the month of February, and then that followed with Vengeful, also by Ve Schwab. And so I really wanted to get to this duology at some point during 2019. I actually talked about this duology in my series to read in 2019 video, and I'll leave a card for that above, so you can check that one out too if you would like. So I'm happy that I'm able to check a series off of that list. However, I did not love this series. I think part of it is just the hype. So far, Victoria Schwab's books have been good, and I'm not saying that they aren't good. However, they have not met my expectations. Everyone raves about them, everyone loves them, and they've just kind of fallen short for me. So I'm really hoping that I will love City of Ghosts, which I purchased recently. I talked about this in my latest book haul video. And I'm also hoping that I will like A Darker Shade of Magic once I get to that. So Vicious, I believe I gave 3.5 or 4 out of 5 stars, and then Vengeful I gave 3.5 out of 5 stars. And again, that does not mean that these are bad books just because they're not 5 out of 5. They were good, and they were very, very creative, but they just fell flat for me. So what this is about, I'll talk about the first book. I won't talk about the second one, so there aren't any spoilers. So in this book, you have these 2 friends, Victor and Eli, and they are really good friends in college. So for a research paper project, Eli begins looking into EOs, and EO stands for extraordinaries, and these are people who have extraordinary abilities, and these people are able to do things that the normal person couldn't. And so Eli wants to figure out how these people have these abilities, and are they actually out there, because he believes that they are. And so he starts doing some research, and he believes that he has figured it out. And then it jumps. And all of a sudden you are like 10 years in the future, and you're with Victor, and he's digging up a grave. And then you jump back to Victor and Eli being in college. So this got kind of confusing because you're jumping between 2 timelines, and at times I was like, wait, what's happening now? And I didn't love that about it. I know that a lot of people really did. At times it was fine, and other times I would get confused and I'd have to go back and be like, wait, which time period was that in? And that didn't happen as much in the first book as it did in the second one, which is why I ended up rating the second one a little bit lower. And also, these are not likable characters. Like, like you don't really, oh, I didn't anyway, really like either Victor or Eli. And so that was also hard to get into it because I didn't really care for them. So anyway, back to the plot. Victor is trying to figure out how people become extraordinaries or extraordinaries, I'm not sure. And he thinks he has it figured out, and so they begin conducting an experiment, and then the story goes from there. So it was a really interesting and creative plot, and I liked the character development, even though I didn't really like the characters per se. Like, I guess I had a soft spot for Victor. I hated Eli, I didn't like him at all. I thought he was arrogant and a jerk and, you know, self-righteous, and so I did not like him in one bit. But I did like, they meet a girl named Sydney, and she was cute. I really liked Victor's partner, Mitch. I just like felt bad for him. I thought he was a really sweet person. Yeah, he getting like caught up in all this nasty business, and my heart broke for Mitch. I really liked him as a character. He was probably like my favorite one out of the entire gang. But I am definitely excited to have both of these books off my TBR, and they will be put on my classroom library shelf. All right, so during the month of February, I really got on a contemporary kick, which I know surprised me too. And so I just really wanted to listen to some contemporary, and I had never read a Christina Lauren novel, so I decided to pick up Roomies, and I listened to this book on audio in one day, which says a lot. I'm only giving it a 3 out of 5 stars just because it's not like anything that you're really going to like learn from and take away from, but it was a perfect chick lit novel that I just absolutely devoured. I loved the romance, I loved the storyline, I loved the characters. I thought the person who did the narration did only an okay job. The one main character was Irish, and so she definitely had like a perfect Irish accent for him, but she let her Irish accent slip into other characters when it wasn't supposed to be there, and at times that became confusing just when you're only listening to it. But other than that, she did do a really great job. This was about a young woman who found like this street performer in the subway and had like this really bad like puppy dog crush on him for like the last year, and her uncle is actually a Broadway musical director, and so they were looking for a new musician for a part in the ensemble for the play. And so she immediately thought of this guy that she had been like crushing on in the subway for the last year and brought her uncle down there to meet him. And turns out he's an illegal immigrant from Ireland and could not be part of the show. So she decides to marry him so that he can play because she's that obsessed with his music and maybe a little bit with him. And then the story goes from there, and it's cute, it's predictable, it's funny. There are some things that, like, I guess because I'm so used to reading young adult that I just don't expect authors to say, and they just took me by surprise. I was actually listening to this as I was grocery shopping, and some of the scenes I'm like, ooh, can anyone hear this? Because, oh my gosh, I was like, oh my gosh, I hope no one can actually hear what's happening in my story. And then some of the times I'm like shopping and I start laughing because of the things that are happening, so I got a couple funny stares, but it was definitely a cute novel, not one that I would ever put in my classroom because it is definitely for adults and it definitely has mature content in it. But it was a very cute and fun read. So because I loved Roomies so much by Christina Lauren, I decided to pick up Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating, and I loved that one too. I am quickly becoming obsessed with Christina Lauren. Stay tuned for what I read in March because a couple of Christina Lauren books might have been on there too. So this book is a dual perspective novel, and you have Hazel for one part and then Josh for the other part. And Hazel's like your wild girl. She's actually kind of settled down a little bit. She teaches 3rd grade at a local elementary school. She ends up going to her best friend's like summer barbecue and sees this boy named Josh. Now, she knew Josh when they were in college, and they have quite a fun history, meaning like one time she puked on his shoes at a college party, and he was her TA for one of her classes, and she sent him this ridiculous email, and so they know each other, but it's like a weird history that they have. Turns out he is her best friend's brother. And so they end up becoming fast friends this summer. So they end up going out on all these blind dates with each other. Not like them dating each other, but they were double dating other people out on these blind dates. and it was really funny. Again, kind of a predictable plot. I love the two characters. I love the dual perspective. At times I just wanted to like shake them and be like, open your eyes. There were definitely some steamier scenes, which I think Christina Lauren includes in her novel. So again, not classroom appropriate. It's definitely for adults. It is another chick lit novel written for adults, but it was another really cute read. And I actually gave this one 4 stars instead of 3, just because I really felt like there was even more character development. I felt like the story was a little bit more developed than the other one. I think Roomies was Christina Lauren's first novel, but I really just enjoyed this one even more. The last audiobook that I listened to during the month of February was Lost for Words Bookshop by, I don't remember. I will leave a picture here with the author because it's escaping me. And apparently I didn't write it down in my bookish planner. So I was scanning my like library app for audiobooks, and this one was a newer edition, and it had, I think, like a 4-star rating. So I thought, hey, why not give it a try? And so I had never heard of it before, but I really ended up enjoying this. So it's about a girl who works in a local bookstore, and you slowly like learn her history. So it does jump to timelines. You have her in the present, and then you have flashbacks to her as a child, and you slowly like put the pieces together and why she is the way that she is as an adult. She's definitely an introvert as an adult. She really doesn't go out. She doesn't really have a lot of friends. And then one day she's walking to work and she spots a book that is just to the side of a trash can. And so she picks it up, and she's not sure if somebody dropped it or if someone meant to put it in the trash can and missed. And anyway, she feels like no book should ever be thrown in the garbage. So she picks it up and she takes it with her to work, and then she puts it in like the window saying that they found this book. And then after a couple days maybe, somebody comes in and retrieves it, and he invites her out to like this poetry night. And so this is like one of the first things that she starts doing to like kind of like get herself out there a little bit more. And, you know, you slowly see her like come out of her shell a little bit. And I really loved some of the side characters here, like Archie, who's her boss. He was great. I just loved his character. He was just like a warm character. He's like everyone, really like fun grandpa, I guess, is kind of how I like thought of him. Like I just like wanted to hug him as a character. You could definitely tell that he really looked at our main character as like a daughter in a way. He looked out for her. Like she got sick at one point, and he like brought her soup and checked in on her, and made her use like time to go home to get better. And you know, he was just a really warm, caring, kind character who was funny and told those like long-winded, you know, like grandpa stories where they go on and on and on, and you're like, did this actually happen in your life, or are you just telling me a story? I will never know. But he definitely reminded me of that, and he was just a great side character. But overall, I really did enjoy this. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was, again, like I said, just a very, you know, nice, heartwarming story about identity and family and loss and love, and I really enjoyed it. And then the last book that I read was the second book in the Marwood series. If you recall, in my series I want to read in 2019 and in my January wrap-up, I spoke about the Marwood series by Jeff Wheeler, which was one series that I really wanted to get to during the 2019 year. And so I actually started reading it in January. I read the first one in January, the second one in February, and then I read the third one in March, which I'll talk about in my March wrap up. So I read the second one in February, and it was The Blight of Marwood, and I really enjoyed it. I liked it even more than the first one. And I thought what was really cool is it picked up right where the first one left off. Like there really wasn't time in between. And so I'm not going to give you a summary of the second because it will spoil some of the first. But a quick review of the first one in case you've already watched my other videos. This is about a main character named Leah, and she's a wretched. And so basically a wretched is a child who has not been claimed by their parents. And so it's like the lowest of the low for the caste system. And so Leah is a wretched. She is raised as a cook, meaning that she helps cook for this Alder Mason, who is like the head of an abbey. Leah is a wretched, and so a boy who is like going to die, is like dropped off in her kitchen, and she doesn't know what to do, and she finds out that he's a Mason, which is a pretty big deal. It's kind of like a knight, and so she needs to help like keep him safe and keep him hidden because somebody's after him. And so this decision to help hide him ends up changing her life and setting her off on a completely different course. So it's a fantasy novel, and I would definitely be reading more by Jeff Wheeler because I really enjoyed this second book in the series. So that's my February wrap up. Let me know what books you read this month. Did we read any of the same books? If you have read any of these books, did you agree with my rating? Did you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. I will be back soon with my March wrap up since it's already the end of March basically. And I apologize for this being so late, but you know, life is busy. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with more bookish videos soon. As always, keep reading.